Yeah.
But yeah, I grew up in multiple cities in my country, and we had to move all over the place. So I had the chance to live in many parts of my country, and that gave me a very um, different viewpoint than the typical one, which
Mm-hmm.
is to when you visit multiple places, and especially abroad, you get a different vision of how the world is, and you start becoming more open minded and willing to learn and willing to just understand different cultures. And when I came here, that was similar journey. I've been all over the United States. I've seen many states, visited many cities, and I get to say that I've noticed different cultures as well. Midwestern culture is not as the same as like Southwest, or not the same as South or Northeast
Mm-hmm.
or Northwest. It's very different, and I got to see that in action, and I got to learn quite a lot from it. And so, yeah, that's answering your question very briefly.
Yeah, wow, that's quite a journey. And maybe tell us a little bit, share with our radio listener about your family and maybe a favorite memory from his childhood,
Hmm.
if you remember any.
Sure, I could try. Um, so you want me to describe my family, or?
Maybe a little bit tell us about your family, your siblings, and you're the older, you're the youngest, or and then a childhood memory that you remember every time, or like like something that you always think about when you
Mm-hmm.
miss your childhood, or like just a comparison that now you're an adult and like you remember a memory from your childhood.
Mm-hmm. So, to answer your question, I have three siblings, and um, my mother is a teacher, and my father is also a teacher in the military. And my siblings are younger than me, so two of them are still in high school, and one of them is working in Qatari Airways, the the um, the airline, you know.
Yeah.
And a moment in childhood that I cherish and I still remember is when I first got my first bike. Yeah, that was, and it wasn't actually from my parents, it was a gift from my grandpa. So that was one day that I cherished quite a lot because it was unexpected, and it was kind of a reward from doing well and um, while growing up in school. So it was his gift, and I've never used a bike before, so that was quite a memorable moment.
Wow, thank you for sharing with us
Mm-hmm.
and thank you for sharing with our radio listeners. So, maybe we talk a little bit your experience living in River West, of course, in Milwaukee, and the program that you're doing at UWM.
Yeah.
So, share with our radio listener about your program and so far your experience studying at UWM.
Mm-hmm. So something that I wasn't expecting when I first moved here was the winter. Obviously, that's the one that people usually most most people discuss when moving to the Midwest. But coming from Arizona and living there for a couple of years, the winter here was very brutal. Um, and yeah, that was something that I had to get adjusted to and learn to adapt and live throughout
Mm-hmm.
of it. Yeah, throughout the season. And yeah, lifestyle here gets very slow during winter as well, during peak winter, and that's kind of the opposite. The opposite where I came from in Arizona. It was like life during winter is more lively and people do more activities during that
Right.
time of the year. But for here, it's quite the opposite. So that's something I had to get adjusted to, and I had to learn. how to shovel snow from from a car or from
Wow,
like
that's a skill.
yeah,
Yeah.
something I haven't never thought of doing before.
Yeah.
But yeah, and like strategies to how to deal with the cold and how to survive and
Yeah.
how to do your daily activities in spite of it.
Yeah.
Um, and I moved in here for a program, PhD in mechanical engineering, that focuses on renewable energy. And as people know, the Midwest is adopting quite a lot of renewable energy, especially wind and a little bit of solar that's been growing in the last few years. But the program in UWM um, kind of is giving me, and that's the purpose, to give me the skills, the necessary skills to research and to improve and to adapt renewable energy systems to this weather and this environment. Um, and at the same time, working in the field of energy and in tandem with the Department of Energy, um, I see it as a way to, um, you know, contribute towards something or towards um, sustainability. So when it comes to my goals and the purpose and why do I do this is because it's something that furthers action against climate change to mitigate and to adapt to it. So that's the reason why participate in this program, and that's the drive and the purpose behind it.
Nice. Thank you for sharing about that experience. And our radio listener really appreciate that you're being honest and sharing about the cold and just not being an environment that
Mm-hmm.
you lived and but it's coming. Summer is almost here. It's in the corner and are you excited and like do you have plans what you're gonna do while being in Milwaukee during summer and are you aware of like the communities, the events, and probably some bike events that you mentioned about your like you like biking and your memory from your childhood? So tell us a little bit about your summer plans. We'll share with our radio listeners and maybe after hearing your experience and your talk, maybe there can be some comments for you, some resources that you can take advantage of.
Mm-hmm. So, so when it comes to the summer and my plans for the summer, I will be doing an internship as an AI engineer at the university,
Wow, that's pretty
and
cool.
yeah, and it's a partnership with the university, UWM, Rockwell Automation, and Microsoft. So it's a program or a joint program that promotes um, automation in the field of manufacturing and trying to give the Midwest the edge it needs to keep up with the ever-growing, um, like advancements in the world, and trying to uh, bring back the industry in here and bring it back stronger than ever. So that's basically the gist of the program, and that's what I'll be doing most of the summer. But to be honest, there's also plenty of things to do in here. The weather is getting much better and more comfortable, so you get to do a lot of hiking, you get to do a lot of sports, um, biking around the trails and seeing nature flourishing. Um, the contrast between the cold winter and the and the very like dark and eerie kind of forests is it's huge.
Yeah,
You could just see the shift. Quite
yeah,
it's you get to see the shift in action as the growth of the green from the earth
yeah,
erupts from the ground.
yeah.
That's something that's very poetic and majestic that I'm noticing these next few or these last few weeks. Um, so yeah, that's basically it. In terms of summer plans, I'll be doing research at the university, but I will also be doing an internship and trying to be more active and trying to um, connect more with nature. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow, that's really fascinating, and your overall plans and everything. So, how did you find the internship? And maybe share with our radio listener about your research. It sounds really cool, even though like it's not really like some of my field. Like I might not know so much, but when you're describing, it sounds like really cool to me. So maybe share with our radio listeners about your research and how did you end up choosing this specific kind of field and about your internship.
Mm-hmm. So I chose the field of mechanical engineering quite a long time when I was doing my bachelor's back home. Mechanical engineering is um, it's a very unique field that gives you a certain viewpoint, a very valuable viewpoint to see, like a recipe on how to see the world and how to understand how the various like machinations of our society work, like cars, like planes, like rockets. You get to understand exactly how they work. You get to understand the math behind how they're built, how they function, and how they do their tasks and achieve or help us in our um, daily lives. Um, Mechanical engineering or engineering in general is more like a lifestyle than just a discipline that you learn because it stays with your logic or your it's kind of a it becomes a deeply ingrained way of life. You will become an engineer the moment you go into the journey or the venture, and you will always be one, regardless if you're working, studying, or no longer doing anything. You'll always be an engineer. You always try to build things and try to fix things or try to upgrade things and so on and so forth. And that's what drove me to pick that field initially. And I further specialized in many other things, such as electrical systems or automation or AI, but it always revolves around mechanical engineering for me. Um, and also, why am I choosing this field of AI in my internship? Well, I've I've recently embarked my journey into the field of AI, and when I say recently, that was back in 2018, so
Yeah.
not so recent.
Yeah.
But I was joining before the hype, before the AI hype, kind of sorta.
Yeah.
So I did research on that, and my thesis was in AI systems, deep learning, and I loved it. I liked how it works and how useful it is. And from the moment that I learned how to build AIs, how to build models and operate them,
Mm-hmm.
um, I just I just continue to work on them with everything that I do, and that's something that I'm excited about because I feel like it's part of the future, and I see it as like a way to grow myself and to be able to do greater things and achieve my goals. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And just to have my other question related to what you explained. So, first of all, was it a dream for you to become an engineer? And isn't it like engineering field different than like AI and computer science field? So maybe share a little bit from your perspective to our radio listeners.
Yeah. So my initial dream was not to be an engineer.
Oh,
My initial dream was to be a medical doctor,
okay.
which I briefly
Wow, that's a whole lot of different.
initially started with, but I didn't quite connect with it fully.
Okay.
The next goal in mind was to be an astrophysicist.
Wow.
After reading so many books of an astrophysicist, famous one here in the U.S., Carl Sagan, and left a great impression on me on astronomy, and that was kind of something that I was reading quite a lot about, and that was also a field that I was very interested in doing research on. But something something just clicked with engineering and especially mechanical because I loved remember that bike I had. Whenever it gets broken, I love fixing it, and I noticed that really love fixing things. So I gravitate. I found myself gravitating towards broken things as if that if I learn how to fix it, I
Mm-hmm.
learn how it works, and the curiosity behind or the curiosity of how things work, I think is what the drive for me was to mechanical engineering, and then I was also a lot into programming. So I had the chance when I was very young to have a computer while growing up, and I just loved breaking that thing all the time. And I know my father was always trying to fix it, and I break it again, and he fixes it, and I break it again, and then I learned how to fix it, and then I break it and fix it and break it and
Yeah.
fix it.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say break it, I was like, just load it with viruses, or just not physically break it, as in
Yeah.
just make it slower or
Mm-hmm.
ruin it with viruses or
Yeah.
delete something very important and the computer won't turn on again or something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
that was something that I was doing while I was growing up, and repeatedly I got to learn quite a lot about computers, how to fix them, and I used to among my friends they always used to call me to fix their computers, or if they wanted to install something they just always call me. And eventually I just started again getting closer to programming, but as a hobby,
Yeah.
not as a profession or not as an education. It was more like a hobby that I grow and sustained by my own curiosity and my own willingness to learn.
Okay. Wow. Fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really like just amazed by your perspective and like the dream job that you had, or like something that you wanted to be as a child, and like you're still kind of, I believe like you're still in that path,
Mm-hmm.
and by some time I think like you will get there. So maybe it just takes some time to get there, and I think you really build a lot. So maybe moving on, like what are some of like your longer term goals, like where do you see yourself? I know it's kind of like a very boring or like kind of common question that you might have get asked, but like where do you see yourself, let's say in the next 5 10 years? Like would you want to work within, let's say, Microsoft team, or like you want to work as an engineer in a very big company? So what would be something that like you want to carry on with, and also maybe share with our radio listeners about some of your hopes for the future?
Mm-hmm. So it's a very good question. Um, do I see myself in 10 years, 5 to 10 years, working in a company or being a full time engineer? Yes, but also not quite so. Because I feel like at a certain point, I want to start my own business and try to grow that business and also try to employ other people, try to create jobs, and also grow at the same time in both wealth and knowledge. So, my goal in the next few years is obviously to be a full time engineer with a reputable company, or it doesn't really matter, just somewhere where I get to contribute and see the fruits of my contribution or production grow into something that I can see and it can be useful to society. Eventually, obviously, would be to secede from that viewpoint of working as a full time. engineer or professional and to start a venture, start something, start a business, something in manufacturing perhaps, where I get to um, turn my vision and my ideas that I have right now into something, see if it works, and if it does, well, it could benefit me, and eventually, with the jobs that it could create, would benefit all of the society and all the people, and eventually, perhaps the goal is um, to grow the business and succeed and reach fulfillment. Yeah, that's my answer to your question.
And some of your hopes for the future?
My hopes,
Yeah.
as in what sense do you mean?
So let's say something that you can contribute to the world, and something that like with the current situation, like what are some of your hopes that can work, can be sustainable and work for the longer term?
Hmm. My hopes for the future is a world of peace,
Obviously.
although sometimes it just doesn't turn out the way we want, but still the goal is to have peace in the world. Um, Lots of trade between countries, um, mutual agreements of mutual growth between all countries, and I guess my hope um, is for a world of sustainability as well, where we move away from things that pollute our environment and more towards things that pollute it less, be it natural gas, power production, or be it renewable energy, or be it nuclear. I see us moving slowly towards something less polluting, cleaner, and more sustainable. And I hope for the future to be full of sustainable practices where what we eat and what we leave over we can reuse, we can recycle, um, we can create a perfect cycle where nothing is waste or what nothing is wasted, where we can always reuse the things that we throw away. So as to lessen, the things with polluting the environment or polluting the oceans or destroying ecosystems, destroying the planet. Well, it's kind of like we're not really destroying the planet. We're just destroying ourselves. The
Yeah,
planet will be fine, but
absolutely.
it's us and our future um, generations have to consider their lives and their livelihood, and we have to consider that we're not just going to leave this world um, just like that. We have to live it for the best, for the future people to come and to live and to continue or succeed us in our ventures, in our ideas, in our world, to build a better world. Just yeah, briefly.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing those big and huge hopes. I'm sure that some of them might come true.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. With the climate change, with the global warming, of course, like it might take some time that people take steps toward a better future, toward a sustainable world that we can live for the longer time,
Mm-hmm.
and especially that we can think like from our own perspective and like have initiatives that can make a small changes from our end. And maybe in the last few minutes for our radio listeners, share like, do you have a favorite spot in Milwaukee in Riverways that you go to, and maybe like a coffee shop, a park, or maybe like Michigan? Do you have a favorite spot?
Oh, I think my favorite spots so far are all the parks facing the lake. All of them. I've been to all of them, and I really enjoyed every single one of them. I think seeing the lake and like the also like the coast and majestic large lake. It's quite a view, and I love going to the pier, to the pier from times to time, and I love seeing like the city in darkness, or as the lights of buildings glow, and it's dark,
Mm-hmm.
or also the reflection of the moon over the lake. So if I would say my favorite spots are all wherever I can see the lake, that's where I am usually.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's pretty cool.
Uh
I
huh.
would say actually my favorite spot is also Lake Michigan and Milwaukee River
Mhm.
Waste, which is very close um, to where I live, and I agree that like the vibe of Lake Michigan gives like a really good vibe. For example, for me, like when I get homesick, of course, being from a whole other world, like I do feel really calm and relaxed when I go by the lake, read my book, or just go swim. Do you like swimming? Maybe you might consider one of your summer activities to go in Lake Michigan and jump. So,
Absolutely. Why not? Yeah, I
yeah,
was thinking about it.
yeah, cool. Yeah. And in the last, I think it's almost our last few seconds. Do you have a final word? But again, thank you so much for joining us today
Mhm.
and for being here with us. And I hope our radio listeners enjoyed the show. And it was a very cool opportunity for me to first time kind of facilitate or be in the show.
Mhm.
Very good. The show's been over for like 10 minutes, but I'm just joking.